Good evening from Westminster Abbey, where the scene is now set for tomorrow's coronation. It will be a stunning and spectacular event, the like of which few of us has ever seen. In less than 12 hours' time, the viewing areas will open in the streets around Buckingham Palace and here outside the Abbey too, with hundreds of armed forces personnel starting to line the route. There will be a procession to the Abbey, where King Charles will be crowned in a ceremony both ancient and modern. Today, the King held receptions for some of the many dignitaries attending tomorrow's service. He also found time for a walkabout, greeting crowds of well-wishers. Tonight, he's resting in Clarence House, ahead of the moment he's been preparing for his entire life. In the first of our reports, here's our correspondent Romilly Weeks on the final countdown to the King's biggest day.
Dawn over the Mall this morning, half a mile that's seen every significant royal event for generations, garlanded in flags to mark the next one. For the King and Queen Consort, a drive to Westminster Abbey, their final run-through ahead of Charles's date with his destiny. If the heavens weren't kind to the patient campers, they were about to get an unexpected boost. The King stopping his convoy to talk to the crowd, hundreds of phones raised, hundreds of hands outstretched. Some gentle flattery, good wishes, and a salute.
Are you staying out all night? Yes, we are. Oh my goodness, it's going to be a long evening.
Kate on the other side and William getting the same rock star reception.
There are, of course, different degrees of anticipation about the coronation, but the mood here on the Mall is already pretty buoyant. And the royal family clearly wants people to feel involved with these walkabouts, meeting and thanking as many people as possible. And here is the King.
How are you? I'm all right.
Hello, sir. How do you feel about tomorrow?
Are you going to be squashed here for the rest of the night?
Probably.
For those who had their moment with the King, something to remember.
And what did you say to the King?
I said, I remember the last coronation when your mother was crowned. And he said, so do I. I was there. I was 4 years old.
And you seem really moved by this.
Yes, because we don't often even see our president. So for me to be able to come and see your king, your future king, is a moment in my life. It's fantastic.
Away from the crowds, there was international diplomacy to be done too, with representatives from over 200 countries in town. The Secretary-General of the Commonwealth told me that under Charles, that institution will still thrive.
What the Commonwealth is seeing is continuity, energy, continued commitment, and actually a bit of love, because the King has said that the Commonwealth is one of the foundation stones of his life.
Walking alone into his palace, tomorrow the eyes of the world will be on this man and the event he spent a lifetime getting ready for. Romilly Weeks, ITV News.
Well, the event, of course, wouldn't be complete without the crowds of royal fans cheering the King and Queen on their way to the Abbey and back to Buckingham Palace. People of all ages and backgrounds are converging on the capital, eager to join in the national celebrations. Lucy Watson heard from some of them.
This was London stirring. People awaiting and awaking from across the world the day before the King's coronation. And so begins a weekend of celebration in households across the country.
Hi, guys!
The Poppats came from Uganda in the 70s, built their lives, careers and families here.
We love England, we just want to enjoy Britain in its full glory tomorrow.
Ken once attended a community lunch with King Charles at Buckingham Palace.
He's a very humble guy. We are coming into a new era, a new style of monarchy, and I think I want to be part of that. I've been here 50 years, and this is my allegiance to the King to say, wow.
Good boy. Royal superfans in all their guises are getting ready for the big day. and travelling to the capital to see it for themselves. Arriving from Manchester to plenty of enthusiasm were other royalists today. Joe, Amy and Vicky, reuniting with Jude, who they first met when they saw Queen Elizabeth II's coffin in Edinburgh in September.
It's like we've got a friendship now where we only come out and meet for historic events.
I wasn't asleep, I just didn't sleep. I was that excited all night.
With 24 hours to go, numbers on the Mall are growing, all dressed appropriately, hoping to catch a glimpse of the processions tomorrow.
My grandma was here in '53 to see the Queen coronated, so been following in her footsteps, sleeping on the Mall where she slept.
Others making sure they've locked in the best seats.
We have our territory marked, don't worry. And there's no point being at the back. You need to be at the front. You need to see everything. Otherwise, you may as well sit in the park and watch it on the screen.
We're part of history.
Yeah.
Is that how you feel?
Absolutely.
There's history happening.
The sun is out for now, but the most ardent of monarchists are ready to brave any elements to watch the British royal family turn the page on a new chapter. Lucy Watson, ITV News.
Well, there is a massive security operation in force tomorrow with more than 11,000 police officers on duty. There'll be air cover and armed officers on rooftops along the way, along with more traditional protection. And our global security editor, Rohit Khatru, is here. And Rohit, nothing at all being left to chance.
Well, those 11,000 police officers you mentioned make this the biggest policing operation in British history, and today the police have been talking about the use of facial recognition technology. They say they've been looking into lists of known offenders too. In many ways this is really similar to the policing operation following the death of the Queen in September, but in many ways this is absolutely different because it's assessed that violent groups may well be much more likely to target a coronation than they would a funeral. And that's something the Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police has been talking about today. He also said significantly that there will be a lower level of tolerance for disruption than there would be on a normal day. You know, what we can't say is just how low that level will be, and of course that's something we'll be looking at and assessing tomorrow.
OK, interesting. Rohit, thank you very much. Although the focus will be very much on events here in London, coronation celebrations will of course be taking place across the UK. Our correspondent Rachel Townsend looks at how people will be joining in the festivities, or in some cases, not.
They may be hundreds of miles from Westminster Abbey.
You like the Queen?
But the distance has not diluted any of the enthusiasm for tomorrow's crowning of King Charles.
I'd like you to raise your glasses for a toast to King Charles and his Queen Camilla.
91-year-old Stanley got formalities underway here in Lancashire, where some of the residents remember the Queen's coronation, but not for the reasons you may expect.
I was tidying up in my living room and vacuuming when they came tapping on the window from next door and said, could I not vacuum, because I was causing interference on the television.
I remember the Queen's coronation, yes, but I must add I was only a girl.
What are your memories of that day?
Well, it poured with rain, and I remember everybody got a television, so they were all like that, yes, yes.
Hannah, you're originally from Holland, so what do you make of all this pomp and ceremony that awaits us tomorrow?
I think it's marvellous. I really do, because everybody's sharing in it.
And it is an event that is bonding generations. Erin and Lucas role-played the royals at this primary school, and the first thing this king would do?
Yeah, more playtime at school.
God save the king!
And while some are toasting the crown and filling shop windows with memorabilia, spirits elsewhere are a little damper.
I'm sure it'll be a great event, but I'll be doing something else.
Are you excited for the ceremonies that are going to take place and all the street parties?
No.
And from the underwhelming indifference in Manchester to the Republican publican in Cambridge.
Speaking to customers, quite a few of them were saying, oh, I'm not that bothered. So we decided to do a not that bothered party for the customers.
And so tomorrow, when the public are invited to pledge their allegiance to the king, some will be ready and willing. Others will be busying themselves elsewhere. Rachel Townsend, ITV News.
And our royal editor Chris Shipp is here. And Chris, whatever your thoughts on the monarchy, I think most people would agree it's going to be a pretty remarkable day tomorrow.
Oh, for sure, it's going to be definitely that. And whether you're looking at this fantastic building behind us and reminded of the tradition, this is a tradition of coronation that goes back to 1066 and William the Conqueror, or whether you're just enjoying the weekend at home with family and an extra day off work, I think this is going to be a momentous weekend. But the biggest danger for monarchy, however, is indifference. I think we saw some of that in the report that we've just been watching, and poll after poll after poll this week has been showing the big difference between how young people relate towards the monarchy, which is not very well, and how there's that much more solid support with older people. So I think as we look ahead to tomorrow, and there are so many new elements that I'm sure we can talk about, but for many people it's about how they relate to monarchy and what this means for the beginning of King Charles's reign.
And great efforts have been made, haven't they, to modernise this ceremony?
Yes. Now, there's plenty of firsts here. The first time that female bishops will be involved in a coronation. The first time, for example, that hymns will be sung in English, Welsh, Scots Gaelic and Irish Gaelic. There's also, there's touches with younger people as well. This is all about trying to modernise something which is very, very ancient and dates back, 1,000 years. It's going to look amazing. I don't doubt that. It's going to be a spectacular. But how will people in the country as a whole relate to this weekend? That's the key for the monarchy going forward.
Fascinating stuff. Chris, thank you.